it's not just me and you, Krystal, that took notice of this. There are a lot of folks out there who are taking a look and are not very happy with Ron DeSantis. First and foremost was Steve Bannon and Mike Lindell, both Trump loyalists, who blasted him for his response. Here's what he had to say.
Governor DeSantis, you're better than this. That was a weasel approach. And don't throw in the thing about the porn star. I don't need to hear it from you, okay? Don't need to hear it, okay? Mike Lindell, the Election Crime Bureau report, sir.
Well, first of all, DeSantis is the Trojan horse we thought he was. I just want to put that out there, how disgusting he is.
How disgusting he is. The Trojan horse that we thought he was. Weasel, not the only ones. Let's put the next one up there. Candance Owens. Here's what she had to say. Anyone surprised by this? Been saying this forever. DeSantis is a good governor, but he is establishment. Will be a major disappointment to those who think otherwise. People disenchanted with Trump, sometimes rightfully, saw things in DeSantis that were never there. She follows up. He handled COVID correctly and bravely, but DeSantis is not America first. So he is really getting it from a lot of the MAGA sphere.
And where has Candace been on DeSantis?
She hasn't really. This is the biggest shot that I've currently seen.
She's somebody kind of kept her options open, you would say.
Very much so. And I should also note from the Daily Wire, it's not also just Candace. Shapiro actually replied to one of my tweets kind of defending Ron DeSantis' approach, because I just said, look, it's terrible political judgment for him to stay silent either way. And then, miraculously, the moment he does break his silence, it's trying to, again, have the two-way approach. Yeah. That's also even Matt Walsh, who I've noted is a big DeSantis fan, very much a Trump critic in terms of policy. And he's like, I'm sorry, this was not the right approach at all. Another person who is actually been pro-DeSantis and has not been advocating for Trump is Mike Cernovich, who, look, you can hand it to the guy, but he's been intellectually consistent on this. Here's what he said, put it up there on the screen. Quote, DeSantis blew it today. Only people saying otherwise personally hate Trump or were never Trump in 2016. Where were you in 2015? I was explaining why Trump would win when he had a ceiling of 3%. And goobers, I am not a Trump guy. That's the lowest IQ thing that you could say. Again, Cernovich is somebody who was an original Trump supporter all the way from 2015 onward, very much enjoyed the chaos, criticized him heavily over policy throughout the years, has been saying that the Republicans should abandon Trump in favor of a person like Ron DeSantis. But he, again, is speaking, I think as you and I are, we don't really have a dog in this fight, so I'm just trying to look at it politically and just being like, look, if you want to convince people, many of whom I know who are major MAGA, to their core, and sure, they are not the majority of the Republican Party or the American people, but enough of a stronghold to give you a very easy path to the primary, then you would have had to make a defense of Trump. And one of the reasons why I'm noting this is look at every other major Republican figure in the country. Kevin McCarthy, immediately, the senior-most GOP elected official, tweet coming out, full bear support of Trump. J.D. Vance, many of the other Republican senators, Steve Bannon and others, the Trump campaign publicly praising Vivek Ramaswamy, calling on Nikki Haley and for Ron DeSantis to join Vivek Ramaswamy in condemning what's happening there. The pressure that is coming to bear, all of the senior Republicans at the highest elected level, almost all the elected GOP senators and others have went out on the record. You have Jim Jordan, another MAGA figure, who's coming out there and calling on Alvin Bragg to come and testify before Congress, saying that we'll withhold federal funding from your department and all that. Like, it's out there now. Now, it's a political issue. The bar has been set by all of the top electeds. So your choice to go in a different direction, that sends a direct bat signal. And it was read exactly that way as people in the MAGA sphere. Let's go to the next one here. Jack Posobiec, another major figure in the MAGA community. This is Et tu, Brute, from what is it, Shakespeare, right? Mm-hmm. That's all coming back to me right now. So the point is that accusing DeSantis of stabbing him in the back. Cernovich also wrote a Substack piece where it's just talking about DeSantis blew it today, which passed around heavily in the MAGA community. Raheem Kassam, who is also affiliated formerly with Breitbart, with Steve Bannon as well, coming out and saying that. And, you can deny it or not. Sure, these guys are online, but they represent at least the thoughts of Donald Trump, the people around him. And it is a case that Trump has been making against DeSantis, which we again know has been dropping DeSantis' poll numbers like a rock. To be fair, he hasn't even announced yet. Certainly things could change, but I do not think that people around Trump himself, and many of the people who DeSantis may have been able to win over, like the entire conservative kind of media apparatus, they very much took notice of this, again, outside of Ben Shapiro, and criticized his response.
Yeah, and once again, there is not going to be any third way middle ground.
No.
I mean, we talked yesterday about Mike Pence on January 6th, trying to have it both ways too. You see, Nikki Haley, this is also relevant to the conversation. She just put out an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that is criticizing DeSantis over his stance on Ukraine. Now, of course, DeSantis and Trump's Ukraine stances at this point, I mean, it's not really clear that they're the same, but effectively.
Similar-ish.
Similar-ish.
Yeah.
But the criticism really isn't at Trump. It's at DeSantis. So, you know, nobody is really stepping up to take this guy head on. And you have to think about the way this is all going to play out. This is probably the first indictment of several. So this is going to continue to be one of the most animating issues within the Republican base electorate and, frankly, within American politics. So if you're wishy-washy, you don't know where you stand on this, yeah, Republican voters are going to have an issue with that. This is what Trump is so good at. He is so good at seizing on issues that he believes are to his benefit, making them the central dividing line in Republican politics. You know, on policy stance, he's obviously doing this with Social Security and Medicare as well. And then forcing people to make a hard and fast choice. If you are not 100% with him, then you know, you're seen as being 100% against him. And I think we're seeing that in real time with how DeSantis chose to respond to this moment.
President's son also joining the fore. Let's go and put this up there on the screen. So DeSantis thinks Dems weaponizing the law to indict President Trump is, quote, a manufactured crisis and isn't a real issue. Pure weakness. Now we know why he was silent all weekend. He's totally owned by Karl Rove, Paul Ryan, and his billionaire donors. 100% controlled opposition. And listen, you can also say, who cares? It's just the president's son. As we also repeatedly showed you, Don Jr. routinely places high in many of these polls simply because he's also a MAGA warrior. He's very prominent online. He's somebody who a lot of the people in the base loves. I remember seeing him once at the Trump Hotel. He was like a rock star. Like whenever he walked in there, because at that time, anybody who was visiting DC was like very pro-Trump, would hang out in the lobby and they all saw him and they were like stood up and clapped. Frankly, I thought it was a little bit gross and kind of reminiscent of like the European kings, but it is what it is. You can't control what people like.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just saying, purely observationally, he has also a lot of credibility with a lot of the MAGA base. You can dismiss it if you would like and note that majority of Republicans don't align themselves with that. But the vast majority of Republicans will see any indictment of Trump, especially on Stormy Daniels related bookkeeping fraud, as one of a complete political prosecution. It will be a complete cross the Rubicon moment. Politically also, Krystal and you have discussed, I mean, the fact that they are going first with this, and I'm not saying they, because I'm not saying it's coordinated, although maybe it is, but you're going first with Stormy Daniels and not with the Fulton County grand jury, not with the January 6th, not with any of the other myriad investigations where much of the American people definitely are with you, if not the Republican base. On this one, I even think many independent voters would be like, listen, I think this is bullshit. Like,
you know, it'll be interesting to see the polling on it. My guess is you still will have a majority of the American people in favor of it, just because they're not paying so much attention to the details, but we've had consistent polling that says that they believe Trump deserves to be indicted. We'll see. But I agree with your fundamental point here, that there's a lot more for Trump to work with on this particular prosecution versus Georgia, versus January 6th and fake elector schemes. So, yeah, I mean, I think if it was coordinated, this is not the order that they would have chosen. So I think that argues against the idea that there was any sort of federal, state, local coordination in terms of ordering these indictments, because I do not think that this is the order that you would choose.
There you go.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.